the first Imam, the successor to the Prophet, the brother of the Prophet, the Lion of Allah, the only person who was born in the Kaaba, and the founder of our creed, the helper of the Prophet who established this religion. We're remembering the day, and a lot of you have come here, and it's difficult. It's a weekday. People have work and class and things like that tomorrow. But we just have to thank Allah for putting the love of our Imam in our heart. That this is something that is special. Everybody doesn't do it. I've had conversations with different people from around the world. I remember a time I was in traveling to Iran, and I was traveling through Turkey. And on the way through Turkey, I met a Christian Arab who loved Imam Ali. So he's sitting and he has some poetry that I'm not sure if he wrote it or he got it from somewhere. It's talking about the fadail of Imam Ali. And he starts talking about how great Imam Ali is to me. And there's another person who's supposedly a Muslim, who's not Shia, and he got bothered by this and he got up and left. So if you're the person that has the love of this Imam in your heart, that's something special, that's a blessing that Allah gave you, that everybody doesn't have. We just assume that everybody would have it, but it's not true. It's interesting that you had a Christian who he just loved talking about Imam Ali. He loved thinking about Imam Ali. And then you had another person who's supposedly one of his followers who takes him as the fourth Khalifa. At least he should be happy about this. And it bothered him that he was hearing the fadail of Imam Ali. And they say that no one except a believer will love you, and no one except a munafiq or a kafir will dislike you. So please give a loud salawat for our Imam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Of course, we also want to thank all of the hosts and the people who came and the people who support and the people who built this center. And we have to really appreciate how much these type of people give to us and the blessing that we all receive from the brothers and sisters who make this type of efforts. Every little small effort, which is helping keep alive the remembrance of the Ahlul Bayt in this far land, is really a special blessing. And this is something this is tawfiq from Allah. It's something really special, something that a lot of times some of the Muslims who are coming from outside don't appreciate, and sometimes the Muslims who are in here in the country don't appreciate. Is how we got this religion. The Muslims coming from the outside came to America, a foreign country, and then found Muslims already there. No effort from them. They didn't do anything. They didn't convert the people. They came to a country and found Muslims living there. And you just think that how does Allah work in interesting ways? For the people who are living here, who became Muslims, they came in a strange way out of people who were just teaching nonsense. Like the first group of Muslims that was big, of course there were some people came as slaves and there were some people came as refugees, but the main group that got a presence was the Nation of Islam that was teaching a sort of a mismatch of Sufism and other religions and other type, and mixing it with Christianity and teaching people kind of nonsense and misguidance. But this became the largest group. Allah made it into guidance and became the largest group of Muslims in the country. So it's just really interesting how Allah works. We have the people of the African American descent, which is the poor people, the people maybe you have to be worried about, maybe they'll rob you or kill you. And these are the people who they think that Islam has something to do with their salvation, without the Muslims from overseas raising a finger or doing any work. So it just shows you the power of Allah. From the African American communities, a huge portion of them are Shia. A large portion of them are Shia. Without having any work being done, not a little bit, we don't want to say none, but it's not that the people came and they went into African American masajid and tried to convert them to Shiism. These people went and read books and things like that on their own. And what's interesting is you have the same people reading the same books in the other countries, and it doesn't go into their mind that maybe I should be Shia. They have the books in Arabic, they have Nahj al-Balagha, and it makes more sense to them because if you read it in English translation versus you're reading it in the actual text, we have people and they converted themselves. Friends and family, I knew them maybe I would know them when I was younger and they were Sunni. 5-10 years later, I know them and they're Shia. I don't know how, when, where, how did this happen? It just shows that this is something that is coming from Allah. This is something, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That this is something that is coming from Allah. It's Allah who's guiding and Allah who's misguiding. And it's interesting which people are picking up the guidance and which people are picking up misguidance and how much that is in the hands of Allah, subhanAllah. Of course, we also want to give the congratulations to our Imam, the Imam of our time, Ajallallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So now my speech is going to be on a very important subject, which is the subject of knowledge in Islam. Islam is one of the religions that puts a lot of emphasis on knowledge. It is not acceptable for a Muslim to just be an abid and not understand what he's doing. And this is something which is especially is emphasized in Islam in general amongst all of the different tawaif, but it's especially emphasized amongst the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. That, which is the hadith that the Prophet says, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babuha. That I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate. And whoever wants my knowledge, then he should come through its gate. That if we're trying to get to this knowledge and the ma'rifah and the understanding that is in with the Prophet, then it's through the gate of Ali. And that if a person is trying to get to this knowledge without the love of Ali, then what? He has no access. The key to that knowledge is the love of Ali. And when the brother was giving some very nice poetry, and alhamdulillah, one of the things that really made me happy is that he gave it in English. Because a lot of the younger people, sometimes they miss some of it when it's in Urdu or Farsi. It's important to remember these things in these languages as well. It's not to downgrade or disappoint there, and people have grown up with those traditions, and they should be remembered. It's an art, and you don't want to ever lose an art. But he made some very good points about the position and the high place of Imam Ali, and then made a very interesting point, is that people used to be jealous of that. That there are some people who, when they see a pure person, there's some of them that they say, wow, this person is special. This person is great. This person is someone I should strive to be like. And then other people, they get afflicted with jealousy. Why is he over me? Why is he above me? Who put him over me? And that this is also bringing us to a key point when we're looking at knowledge, which is the first step towards gaining knowledge is humility. The first step towards gaining knowledge is admitting that you're less, admitting that you're naqis. And why do we say that? Why does knowledge go with humility and ignorance go with arrogance? This is something which is very, like Jahal, his brother is kibr. Ignorance, his brother is arrogance. I think I'm better. And knowledge, his brother is humility. I think I'm less. Because if you don't take that first step and you think that you're less, then how can you know? My cup is full. You can't pour anything into it. I think I know everything. I think I know better than Allah, which is the sin of shaitan. Allah comes and He gives him a wali, He gives him an imam, He gives him a khalifa. He says, I know better than you. That's the step towards ignorance and getting lost. But the step towards knowledge is, surely you know what I do not know. That's what the angels did. They submitted before this. They submitted before perfection. They submitted before completion. They submitted before something better than them. So if you don't submit before the Imam, that when Allah presents him to you and shows you a person who's perfect, He shows you a person whose actions and his belief and everything is just oozing out of perfection of humanity, and you don't say, I want to be like that, I want to learn from him, then how can you skip the head to the step and try to skip to the Prophet? If you don't love the Prophet's perfect student, then how can you get to his knowledge? You're saying, I don't want to be like the perfect student. I don't want to be like that. Then how can you be a student? He says, this is what you should be like. This is my brother, this is my friend, this is my hand, this is my representative when I'm not there. And you refuse that. And then you say, okay, but I'm going to skip ahead. What's interesting is that they refused the hadith of the Prophet. They said, the hasbana kitab Allah. And you think that they're going to have any success? They couldn't understand the Quran. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And we should look at what are the things that happen to a person when he has ignorance, when he has lack of knowledge. One of them is that human brains it doesn't stay empty. If you don't have knowledge, do you know what fills it? Ignorance, superstitions, khurafat, false beliefs. Other things get in there when you don't have knowledge. It's not that if you don't have knowledge, it stays a blank sheet. No, you refuse knowledge, nonsense gets in. So when you see people who are misguided, which ones are the most misguided? A lot of times you see, just to use an example, you have these, recently they've decided to make the people misguided. It's become a project of some of the people in power. They have this news channel, which is just one example of it is the Fox News. And they also have these radio channels and things like that. Feeding people nonsense. Feeding them nonsense. But the ones most sure that they have the information are those people. They're sure that they have the information. They'll come, sometimes I remember I was sitting in my work. Despite my name, the people there didn't realize I'm Muslim. So the guy's sitting there, an older gentleman, and he's collected several of the younger people around him, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to explain to you the truth. And then he just starts reading off this laundry list of Fox News complaints and nonsense and mixing of truth and falsehood and confusion. And he's like very enthusiastic in teaching these younger people this nonsense. So that's why it's important that you gain knowledge, because the same thing will happen to you. It's not like it happens to the other person, but it doesn't happen to you. It happens to you as well. If you don't have knowledge of the Quran, you get misguided. You don't know what's in it. I've seen Muslims get stumped because a person misquotes an ayat or doesn't have or makes one up, and the Muslims get confused. They don't have knowledge of their own religion, so they can get misguided. They'll say, it says this in the Quran and you believe this, and so Islam has this and that and wrong. You've never read the Quran. The person hasn't read it. In the past, maybe you had excuses. We didn't have books, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. Now everything is available online, you can buy it. Read it. Know what it says. Read it again and again and again. Think about it. That one of the things that they're saying, even for the Prophet, is commanded, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, is to think about the Quran. Read it slowly. Let it get into you. Become aware of it. Learn the hadith of the Ahlul Bayt. Be familiar with it. So if somebody says that they said it, does that sound strange? Does it go with the normal sayings of the Ahlul Bayt? Be aware. One of the things also about the madhab of the Ahlul Bayt is the emphasis on having scholars. Not just that any person comes, picks up the Quran, reads one or two hadiths, and then, mashallah, he's Omar Baghdadi, and he's up on the minbar leading the people astray. We have scholars. It's a profession. Sometimes they say, you know what, the good thing about Islam from our brothers is that there's no scholarship. Everybody is the same. It's egalitarian. So meaning you have no experts? They have scholars, but they make the claim that there's no priestly class. Yes, we don't have a priestly caste. We don't have these people, they're just born. Some of the religions have that. These people, he's just born, so mashallah, he's a priest. Because his father was a priest. He knows, he doesn't know, he's a priest. So we don't have a caste system. But we do have a class, meaning we have people who became aware and learned and studied, and so now they have a certain amount of knowledge. You can hold them up, and when we see that this person is not just knowledgeable, but he acts on his knowledge. He's not just knowledgeable, but he obeys Allah. He's not just knowledgeable in the books, but he's aware of what's going on around him, because all of these things happen. You have a person who's very knowledgeable in a book, but when you put him in real life, he's not knowledgeable. It's like a person who knows, he writes a book on swimming, you throw him in the water and he sinks. So he's not aware of what's going on around. So the Ahl al-Bayt had said, no, when you find these people who are like this, these are your representatives. Meaning it's showing that respect for knowledge, respect for awareness, and then also respect for knowledge put into action, because what is knowledge which is not put into action? He knows everything and he doesn't do anything. So we want to have these type of people. And the thing is that we are the ones, the regular people, maybe we're not the most knowledgeable, but we are the ones who allow our scholars to put their knowledge into action. Why? Because of our obedience. Because we can do what we were told to do. Because let's say you have the most knowledgeable scholar. He gives the people suggestion, they don't do it. Then we say, oh, this scholar isn't doing anything. What is he's supposed to do everything? He's supposed to pave the roads himself. He's supposed to wage the wars himself. He's supposed to build the schools himself. You know, he can tell us that, look, brothers, sisters, we need a school. Or look, brothers, sisters, we need a road. And then we put it into action out of respect for that knowledge which Allah has granted him. And this is another important example which we get from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I think we're a little bit tired, so let's give another salawat that's louder. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. How do we get the example of following the scholars from Amir al-Mu'mineen when he was the most knowledgeable? Because of his followership of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When our Imam had a perfect leader in front of him, he would follow him perfectly. One of the things, this is another special blessing which we're getting from Amir al-Mu'mineen, is we don't just have leadership, because the other people say we have leadership. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةَ كُفْرٍ. We made them the leaders of disbelief. They have leadership. Like Pharaoh was a leader, leading his people into the river and getting them drowned. So you can have leadership, but the followership of in the proper sense, meaning you can find the right leader. So it takes a certain amount of knowledge to do that. But then once you've found him, you follow him. How come if you take to the history, we had the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, which the Prophet ﷺ made a treaty with the Meccans that he said that now is the time we're going to end the war temporarily for the benefit of the Ummah. And some of the terms were humiliating. Some of the other people, the same person who was saying Hasbuna Kitab Allah and others, started raising a ruckus, fighting, I don't believe this guy is a prophet, arguing, disputing with the prophet. This is an example of how to not follow the leader. Where's Imam Ali alayhi salam? What was he doing? He was writing the treaty. The only part that they said that they wanted him to cross out the part where it said, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And Imam Ali stopped there. He said, he said, my hand doesn't move to do this. So Prophet Muhammad crossed that part out himself and wrote Muhammad ibn Abdullah. So that was, but he didn't raise a ruckus, I'm not going to do it, cause problems. He went with his leader. He also gives us the example of how to follow a not so good leader. He gave him advice, but he didn't destroy the whole ummah to say, I'm the proper leader, so I'm going to destroy everything to make myself be in charge. I'm just going to read a hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He said, Ash-shakhasu fi talab al-ilm kal-mujahidun fi sabilillah. That the person who is struggling to gain knowledge is like a soldier or a warrior in the way of Allah. In other hadiths that have more details says that if he dies in this, then he gets the reward of a martyr. Other ones are saying that the blood of the scholar or the pen of the scholar is more than the blood of the martyr. He's showing that there's so much emphasis on gaining knowledge, and so that you can know what you're doing, not get misguided, not get lost, not get confused. The first thing, if you notice, when the people took over Iraq, the first thing they started having the terrorists do is destroy the University of Baghdad, to destroy the knowledge of the people. They didn't care, secular, religious, whatever, just destroy their knowledge. Back in a long time ago, when the communists took over Azerbaijan and things like that, they rounded up the ulama and killed them, to make the people be stupid, to make them not be intelligent. When they had problems with Iran, they went and started trying to murder their nuclear scholars, to try to keep them in darkness and even it's not only religious knowledge, they also want to keep them in darkness and secular knowledge. But actually, all knowledge to me is religious knowledge. All of this knowledge which can benefit mankind, all of this is in the way of Allah. All of this can be used in the way of Allah. All of this can benefit the mu'mineen, not just only fiqh and aqaid. Not that these things aren't important. Because if you get involved in business and things like that without knowledge, you can get yourself into haram things. This is something which is important. And it's not like ignorance is bliss. You say, well, Allah, if I don't know that, selling this is haram, maybe Allah's not going to punish me. Yeah, but the effects of doing that might still come on you. Meaning let's say it's haram to drink poison, correct? You can't drink it. It's haram. Let's say I don't know that this cup is poisoned. Like our A'imma alayhim salam, sometimes they would present them before them a poison cup and they would drink it. So it's not a sin. The Imam didn't commit a sin. But the effect of the poison still killed him. So meaning like even if I'm doing some sort of business and it's having an effect on my spirit or on my livelihood or on my community, my lack of knowledge that this is not allowed doesn't prevent that. It might prevent from the punishment of doing that. Please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We have another hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Which he says, Badiru awladakum bil hadithi qabla an yasbiqukum ilayhi al-murja. That he said, be quick in teaching your children our hadith before the corrupt people beat you to it. This is going back to what I was saying, that if you don't take the bull by the horns, if you don't take responsibility, and remember, this goes for yourself first, meaning like learn the correct things before someone comes and misguides you. Once you know the truth, it's hard to misguide you. But when you don't know, it's easy to misguide you. But you also have to take this down to your children and making sure that you're getting them educated. If you have a wife, make sure that she's educated and knows what's going on around her. It's very important for men not to get only involved in business and things like that and forget about the importance of learning about their religion, and their business and the world around them. Please give us salawat to Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Umma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, of course, we would like to ask Allah to increase us in knowledge and understanding and obedience and love of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, and cause us to live like the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and die like the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And inshallah, give us their ziyarat in this world and give us their shafaat in the next world. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.